Hi, I'm Arohi Banerjee. I'm a current third year, and I'm currently the Vice President of Student Life in USG, and I'm running to be president.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is David Ampoma. I'm a sophomore currently. My major is biochemistry. Right now, I'm the vice president of communications, but I am running to be president of USG.
Hi, my name is Jen Kim, and I'm a third year mechanical engineering student with minor in business management and biomedical engineering. And I've been part of USG for the last 2.5 years. And for the last 2 years, I've been part of executive board as VP of finance and treasurer. And my last position would be VP of finance in last fall. And right now I'm running for USG president because I want USG to truly represent student body through actions and not just words.
Of course. So I've had a lot of hats within USG. So I started off in the Student Life Subcommittee, which I greatly enjoyed, and I worked as the Student Life Secretary. So I was able to kind of just get a better understanding of what the conversations being had in student life were like going on. After that, I decided to become the Transportation and Public Safety Subcommittee leader in student life, and through that I was able to like work more closely with the administration involved in those offices, and also just like learn more from the VPSL at that time, Zelene, and then also just collaborate with student life and have more of a leadership role in that sense. Those experiences made me want to take on more within student life, which is why I decided to run for vice president of student life. And that experience has been one of my greatest experiences on this campus. I've been able to work so closely with a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, be able to like be a bridge for students and administration, and just be able to facilitate very important conversations, I feel. And I've been able to assist a lot of representatives in initiatives that they're doing, kind of bring new initiatives to the table and new processes to the table. And none of that would have been possible without like the amazing group of people that we do have in student life and the committee that we've had this past year. But for example, we've worked closely with dining, where we've had some conversations about reevaluating like meal plan prices and what is being offered with the meal plans, and just being able to provide more options. So for example, you've probably seen those useful bowls in like Fribley and Leutner, the like reusable like blue bowls. That was a student life initiative, and it was because we wanted to do something that was more sustainable rather than those like plastic boxes that sometimes would be offered. And through that also, we were able to make sure that students were accommodated for during Ramadan, because then they were able to take those boxes home during meal times. We were able to have dates in the cafeteria, just a lot of things in the dining front. For transportation, I was able to talk a lot with VP Jameson, and I think currently, right now, I'm kind of working on establishing a third shuttle for year round instead of just during the winter, because we like have some numbers and we realize that students are like greatly benefiting from that third added shuttle, and there's like less wait times in that front. So those are unfortunately some initiatives that take a lot of time to like get through the process, but I think like more sustained conversations with that administration is like allowing us to make like smaller changes that will be beneficial. We've also been able to establish a council with VP Apgar, and I've been able to work with UDC, COC, and just like other student voices in that council to understand what those students are facing, like the concerns that they're facing, because sometimes I don't want it to be, we are USG and I do want to hear USG's perspective, but I also like am aiming to hear what other umbrella organizations are going through, because then we can have more manpower in addressing these issues with administration. So that was a great way to like put that front up with administration, and I hope to continue that and be able to like have more constructive channels of communication.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I can just start at the start. So I started off being as a freshman representative, and then from there I became the public relations chair for the Student Life Committee when I was there, and then now I'm the vice president of communications. So starting off with me as a representative, the first thing that I did, the first initiative that I wanted to tackle, and the whole purpose behind me being freshman representative, was that I'm extremely focused on making sure that USG is communicating well, that we're transparent, and that people are that we're more accessible to everybody. So that's why one of the first initiatives that I did as a freshman representative was our town hall initiative. So it took place in February of my freshman year. So we pretty much had all of the USG exec along with some of the representatives come to Twing Atrium. And then we pretty much just invited everybody in the student body to come and be able to talk to us, ask us questions, put names to faces, put positions to faces, all those kinds of things. So that was the biggest thing that I did in my freshman year. And then the second thing I also did, like I said, I was the public relations chair for student life. So being in that committee, what I learned was that we are doing a lot of things, but the issue is a lot of the things that we're doing aren't getting out to the student body. So that's why I worked with the vice president of student life at the time to start this position of public relations chair so that I could work with the then current vice president of communications to help get more of that information out there. And then once I kind of was in that role for a little bit, I figured communications is what I wanted to do. I wanted to get all of these things out. And I figured the best way to do that is by being in that position. So I ran for communications. I did that position. I'm currently doing that position. And initiatives right now, I'm not doing initiatives so much as I'm just, I guess, doing my job. But yeah, like I've been putting out the newsletter every single week. I've been posting more on the Instagram than we did in previous years. I've been working with more of the student organizations to publicize their events and as a result publicize USG more. And I've also been working more with administration to make sure that their information and everything that they want the student body to know is getting to the student body either through emails, through the newsletter, or through Instagram, whatever it is. But that gets to why I'm running for president. The reason why I'm running for president is because I figured that there's just so much more that I can do in that role to help with that transparency, to help with making USG more accessible that I just can't do in my role right now as a vice president of communications.
Yeah, so I'm running for USG president, as I mentioned before, because I really think that it's time for actions to happen instead of having discussions. Through VP of Finance positions, I have been involved a lot heavily on the club approval processes and also where the funding goes. And I have also started my own initiative of Case Cash. I think throughout this experiences, it really taught me that a lot of times when we make decisions and actions, it can't be just a one person working towards one goal. It needs to be a group effort. And I think that's something that USG is a little bit lacking on recently. And that's one of the reasons why it kind of inspired me to run for USG president.
Yes, of course. So I have some like both external and internal goals. So like I mentioned, a lot of these initiatives, they take a while to go through like these administrative processes and just making sure that the next generation of these representatives are better set up to make sure that their initiatives can move forward more clearly. So kind of right now, my goal in USG has been like setting up administration with student life representatives and like being able to hold workshops for the representatives in student life to be able to address like how to move an initiative forward, how to do that consistent follow through so that administrative like services are more responsive to the students. So I'd like to continue that so that students feel like they are having an impact on that campus. So I want to continue that internally and also build like more cross collaboration between different committees to understand like how USG works as a whole so that representatives don't feel as disconnected between like like committees. And then externally, I want to continue building on those initiatives and making it easier for obviously daily lives on this campus. Like you guys experience this campus, I experience this campus with you, and I want to make sure that it's something that we all are able to be proud of and enjoy.
So multiple things. Again, my biggest goal the whole course of my career here in USG and as advocating for the student body has just been that transparency, has been getting us out there, has been getting us to work with the student body. And that's the biggest thing that I want to do. I want to make it a focus of not only getting us out there, I also want to make sure that we're working more with the student clubs that are under us to making sure that they're able to rely on us, if that makes sense. So what I want us to do as president, if I'm elected next year, is to make sure that these student clubs are find us more accessible so that the things that they need other than just money, because yeah, we provide money, but there's so many other things that we can provide in terms of support, in terms of connections to various people that they could possibly bring in for their clubs. And I just want them to know that we are more accessible and that they can talk to us.
Yeah, so I have two main starting goals. One being changing the USG, how we're collecting student input from reactive to proactive measures. I plan to do this by actually assigning student groups to representative to reach out to, in addition to our weekly newsletter that we sent out. I also plan to expand upon my USG of treasurer office I have launched last semester into having a president and representative office hours, with each month having a different topics and inviting different students to come in and talk about those specific topics. I personally learned it's easier when there's a topic given to talk about and complain about instead of it being open-ended. I also plan to utilize classroom announcements and also having feedback Fridays in different places outside of Tink. And my second main goal is to provide and increase the resources for students to help them better prepare for their postgraduate life. I want to work with departments to make sure that there is enough designated funding for students to go out to conferences, but also work with CAA and Career Center to really expand on that alumni network and have more opportunities where students can connect with them in a meeting setting. Maybe we can have a monthly meeting setting with different alumni coming in to learn about that post-grad life.
Of course. I think, especially in my role as VP of Student Life, I realized that a lot of the concerns that students have, although they may have like a big sticker attached to it, there are a lot of different ways to address that problem and a lot of different like aspects that we can control. So, for example, like some people may be not so happy about like the cost associated with like this campus. So, because of that, I was able to recognize like what specific costs are students not being receptive to, and we realize that sometimes it has to do with spirit and they want to get merch but the bookstore merch isn't up to their liking or isn't affordable enough. So we were able to create like a spirit task force to kind of help lead creating merch that was more affordable for students. Or also we've been in communication with university marketing, and they release like little drops of sweatshirts or things like that that students are able to purchase that is a much lower cost than the bookstore. And then also like with the meal plan, just like reevaluating what spaces students are actually using and seeing like if there's a way to get those like swipes distributed more effectively. I think that's one of like a concern that we are moving more into. But I think just addressing like not like addressing aspects of the problem that we are able to change and focusing more on like those different aspects of daily lives to just make it like a better overall picture, I think, is what USG is able to do and what I have been able to advocate for, and I will continue advocating for.
Yeah, so that's a great question. The biggest thing, the first thing, is to make sure that we're getting student concerns, because we can't solve those problems if we don't know what the problems are. So the biggest thing that we need to do, again, I keep on hammering on this, but making us more accessible, making people know that we are here for them. So what I'm going to do as president is I'm going to host more Feedback Fridays so that people can come up to us with their issues, with their problems. I want to make the GAs more accessible, because I don't think people know this, but you can come to any GA that you want to, but it's not marketed in a way, and I should have worked on this better when I was in my role, is making sure that it's more obvious that these GAs are accessible to everybody so they can come in, they can chime in, all of those kinds of things. So that's the thing that I want to do. And then I also just want to make sure that after we end up getting these problems, that we actually make solutions towards those promises. So I want to make sure that our initiatives are more focused on what the student body wants based off of these Feedback Fridays, based off of these feedback forms, all of these kinds of things, and actually hearing it from their mouths. And then I also want to make sure that we're able to be more actionable with that. So then having various representatives, making sure that they're focused on a topic so that they can work on these problems as initiatives.
Yeah, I personally have been noticing that happen a lot in the past years too. I first want to think that I want to change the way that USG is currently conducting GAs. A lot of times we have administration presentation or a new bill presentation, and we discuss about the issues and problems that we see around campus. But I want to take this further and take USG further in this progress by actually having time to come up with initiatives and what the solutions to those problems that we have discussed before, and making sure by end of each GA we at least have one new initiative to work on and have actually a representative assigned to lead it, so that it's not just a new initiative and we're done. We're setting it up for a success. I think at the end, in next GA, we'll have in the beginning have a progress check on where we are in that process and making sure that's, if it's stuck, how do we make it continue on? And really, I think the action will happen if there is more set next steps and more deadlines that we can follow.
Course. So I've had the opportunity to attend SPR, and it was great like learning how these different like presidents come together and like are able to communicate so effectively about what's going on within their like child organizations, and then also just concerns that they have from like a student perspective. And I think it's a great way to like collaborate on issues that are very similar. So for example, Student Life has collaborated a lot with RHA in the past on issues like housing, and then currently we are collaborating with UDC to kind of see if there's more of like a way to connect international students to housing, or just like even for Ramadan we were able to connect with a lot of UDC organizations. So just like identifying places where we all can come together and advocate for those students in a more like clear like channel, instead of going to admin from multiple different like small areas that might not be targeted, but coming as a united front. I think that's something that's really great that I would continue to work on with SPR. And then I think they like function as a very great organization of being able to make sure everyone's voice is heard. So I think continuing to advocate for all the clubs in USG and continuing to advocate for the students that we are representing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that I would do in my role as president, and obviously I'm going to be on SPR, is I'm going to make sure that USG has open arms towards SPR. I want to make sure that all of the other umbrella organizations know that USG is here to help. USG is here to help improve the student life here on campus. So like whatever we can do to work with them or them to work with us to improve student life, make sure that the things they are here on campus are for the best. And in terms of the issues that I could bring up to SPR, it really goes back to my previous question. So it really just depends on the feedback that we get from the student body. So like from those feedback Fridays, those feedback forums, or the events or the GAs, whatever problems that we've heard that are concerning the student body, those are the problems I would bring up to SPR, and I'd make sure that we would work on that efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, I think one main issue, well, I personally had an experience last semester connecting with UDC exec members about how we run finances, and I saw it really benefit us with us learning about each other's process, but to better each other's process more. And I think, like you mentioned before, with retention rates, that's something that I want to do to talk to other umbrella organizations about how we can improve the retention rate. I think in SPR, other organizations and umbrella organization focus a lot on students' life and focusing a lot on that social life on campus. And I think USG focuses a lot on political measure, but I think as a group, I want to kind of merge that together to make sure that in those social events that how we're communicating also involving other fun activities and get collecting responses and make sure that USG is also promoting the social aspect of student life because I think that's also important.
I think I have had the opportunity to hold like multiple hats within USG, and that has given me the opportunity to build a lot of connections with admin and understand those processes, and also just be able to work with a lot of wonderful representatives and just like hear a lot of student voices from the positions that I have been in. And I would like to say that I feel very competent in being able to be a gap between students and administrators, and I think my entire reason for running for president is because I feel so strongly about these concerns for students, and USG in general has given me a lot in terms of my college experience and learning how to make a tangible difference in students' lives. And I really would appreciate the opportunity to continue doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to first say that all of these candidates are wonderful people. But the reason why I believe I'm more suited for this position than some of the other candidates is just because of the connections, because of the relationships that I've made in my role as freshman representative, PR chair, and also as the vice president of communications. As communications, it's my entire job to make sure that I'm building these relationships, talking to these people. So whether it's some of the members of administration or all the members of the student body that I've had the pleasure of speaking to, or if it's some of the members on SPR, or if it's some of the members in any of the umbrella organizations. I've been able to build these relationships just by being in my role, and that's what I want to bring to this presidency, is to make sure that the president of USG is able to work with other people and to make sure that in the role the president is able to speak and work effectively.
Yeah, I think I think one of my strengths are being able to talk to a wide range of people. Since moving to a different country when I was young, studying abroad, and now doing a co-op at a state that I have never been before, I have really kind of pushed me myself to go out of that circle, go out of that boundary to talk to different people, which I think will be beneficial, especially getting in that student voice. Because when I'm talking to administration, I don't want to be there advocating for my personal opinion. I want to be there for student body's opinion. So I can imagine that's playing a really bigger role in that. I also think from 2 years of exec experience and VP of finance experience, we've been thrown a lot in situations where we have to make decisions and that are not black and white, that wouldn't satisfy everyone on campus. And I think those decisions, when I'm making those decisions, it really taught me to take a step back and think about what would the majority of the students want. And again, reminding myself that I'm not there for me, I'm there for us. It's really important. I think one of the my last strength will be when I'm taking feedback, when it's, I would say I have received both positive and a lot of negative feedbacks, because I feel like when people make feedback, it's because they're not happy with something. And in those cases, I have really learned to not take it personally and make it really thinking about their perspective. Why did they leave this feedback? Where are they coming from? So that I don't make the same mistake again and I don't go down that decision path again in the future. I think I can see envision those skills really playing a factor as a president.
I think I would just like to emphasize that all my experiences from being like from multiple different caucuses, like I am an engineering minor, I'm a CAS like major, and then I'm doing my master's in a humanities setting. So just like being able to experience campus in a lot of ways, being able to be involved with students, I think gives me a good footing on understanding how to move those voices forward. And I think that's what I'll always continue to keep doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing that I want to add to everybody is I want you all to know that USG is here for you. No matter what, no matter what problem it is, USG is here to support. That's our entire job, and that's what we're here for.